how strong their cards are individually. It's that paired together, stepping up that curve. It's just a lot of damage.
Firebat's just jamming.
Uh-oh. Is he getting too comfortable now?
No such thing.
Ultimate comfort for TJ. That's not a super strong hand from RDU. I mean, that's looking... It's looking a little bit weak. I mean, he does have some of the big payoff. Oh, brother. That... Oh, jeez. I mean, you said unlock the door to Mage Paradise. The key to that is Mana Worm.
Yes, it is. 2 Mana Worms, that's 2 keys. So even if you lose the first one,
or if it's
you
one
have
of
the
those
second key.
Weird locks where you both have to turn the key at the same time, you got 2 keys.
Yeah. What he said. Gonna start jamming away.
Honestly, the Pixie's a pretty good draw. It's just a 3-4. Just starts fighting for board.
Oh. Firebat's eyes light up.
Oh, no.
And you saw some of the cards that Firebat has in his deck. He's got Cinderstorms, which likely means he has Arcane Missiles, which means he'll be able to pick apart wide board states pretty easily. And if these Mana Worms stay alive, he knows there's no Consecration because Consecration costs 4. And if I remember back to elementary school math, 4 is an even number.
You remember it correctly.
It is not included in odd cost card decks.
Now, that being said, there is a coin in hand, however.
God.
But everybody knows that 0 is odd. That's not true. It's even. It is definitely. It is surrounded by 2 negative or by 2 odd numbers. It is therefore an even number. Whole numbers, that is.
I'm not going to get into this debate because I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Same. This is not good for RDU, though.
Well, Henchclan Thug is a card that can snowball, but the thing is, RDU doesn't really have any mechanisms to come back on a board state that he's lost. He has to rely on his own minions fighting through.
What's his maul right now? Is his maul the taunt one?
I
never remember the name of these.
It's the summon 2/1/1s, I believe.
Well, that's a good way to start getting back into it, at least.
Yeah.
You know, enough little stuff on board can eventually climb it back, but he's taken a lot of damage in the meantime. So if he can find just a moderately stable board position, I'm thinking the Henchclan Thug might be able to bring this one home still. That's still a very powerful minion. It's still very scary.
But Firebat's got a ton of burn in his deck, so if he's just able to stick a bunch of early damage, eventually RDU's going to be on a clock because he's going to have to start trying to end the game before Firebat's able to burn him out. He's got Blaze Caller. If he's playing similar deck that we saw earlier, he's got Frostbolts, Fireballs, Cinderstorms.
So far, it's looking very similar. We've seen all the same cards from his previous deck.
Do you have the Arcane Missiles? No. So Frostbolts, Cinderstorms, Fireplume Phoenix, Fireballs, Life Drinkers, Steam Surgers, Blaze Callers, Mercus Traversers.
That's not a word. You just said things. You just made noises. He's got the and then he can with the Witchwood.
Call that again.
That's what you said.
Whoa, that was spooky. Looks like Firebat just wants to go wide on the board. Not worried about saving these this Firefire, this Flame Elemental.
He's looking through all the combat scenarios. You know, if he kills a minion, how does that spread his damage out? And Firebat has concluded that this amounts to more damage overall. And I think he's right, because now that's a 1 health Mana Worm that's sitting over there. So it's done as efficiently as possible in terms of its health to effectiveness ratio. RDU has to overkill it.
He will be able to play Blackwall Pixie plus the Corridor Creeper this turn.
You know, I am quite surprised that Firebat chose to go with the Firefly rather than the Sorcerer's Apprentice in this spot, though.
Extra attacks?
Well, it's that he doesn't have an elemental to activate now. So he's relying on drawing an elemental if he wants to get that Blaze Caller online.
He might even be hoping that the game's over by the time turn 7 comes around.
True story.
And he does have 2 more turns to draw into elementals. And he's got quite a few in the deck.
I mean, you named them all. They're there. I mean, this plays right into the Bonfire Elemental is the thing. So if he draws Bonfire Elemental, that is probably the best draw in the deck.
Yeah, Steam Surgers, Bonfire Elementals, Nightmare Amalgam, Fireplume Phoenix.
Meanwhile, RDUs get chipped away the entire time. Firefly's also spread out on the hero power, too. Very wise. Yeah, he's got everything checked. He knows what's going on.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Looking for a Pyroblast. Fireball will do.
If you want my personal opinion on it, I think he was looking for infinite primordial glyphs there.
Oh, that was lethal.
Sometimes.
RDU looks very stressed out right now because Firebat chose that primordial glyph card mighty quickly,
And then started thinking.
and then started thinking, or from his perspective, started counting, which is even more frightening.
Yeah.
Because Firebat's still at 30, RDU doesn't have a board lead. Basically, doesn't have a board lead. He has no way to fight back if he loses a board state.
He's got to leverage his life total in order to do that.
And leveraging his life total means that he dies to burn damage faster.
Yep. It's right into Firebat's plan. That plan.
6 health. A cheap elemental next turn to set up Blaze Caller. A fireball next turn. 2 natural ones in the deck. A Cinderstorm where all 5 bullet missiles go to the face.
A Witchwood classic. Infinite cards in your opponent's board. All 5 to face. It's pretty close to even chances,
It's 50-50.
especially if you don't think about it. Really, the whole centerpiece for this deck, though, is the elementals. And I think Bonfire Elemental is really what the inspiration for this was. The fact that it's a 5-mana 5/5 that just draws a card. If you played an elemental in the previous turn,
Yeah.
that's a good card.
A lot of players were experimenting with odd cost mage to have utilization for the higher damage hero power plus the black cat. Spell
here we
damage
go.
plus draw a card.
I think we're in a race scenario now.
He's still many turns away
Frostbolt
from killing.
will do it as well. Sorcerer's Apprentice, however, will not. I don't know how Firebat always gets into these situations. It's like this snapshot where it's like he's just like 2 damage away and it's like,
Yeah.
This is me. I bet you're wondering how I got into this spot.
I primordial glyph to fireball and pointed it directly at his noggin.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Well, RDU actually can set up lethal over 2 turns.
That's the thing. It's
I think. So next turn, if he clears the 2 minions off the board and pushes for 11,
look at the hero page. He's like, no, anything but that. He's like, please kill one of my minions.
All right, so taking a look at the outs. Cinderstorm, where 2 of the missiles hit face. 2 Frostbolts, 2 Fireballs, a Fireplume Phoenix,
Life drinkers.
Life Drinker.
If he's able to
1,
live for
2,
2 turn,
3,
any
4, 5,
elemental.
6, 7. I don't think he'll live for a turn.
Let me think.
7 outs, potentially 9 outs. Primordial Glyph could be a potential 10th out.
Turn 6 we just saw.
Yeah,
So there's 21 cards left in the deck. We're looking.
so it's about half. Less than half if
Yeah.
you don't include Cinderstorm.
I'd
'cause
say-
it's
I'd say-
very unlikely.
I'd say around the 38% mark. Don't hold me to that
Yeah.
math exactly. My intuition tells me about 38%.
The
Give or
thing
take.
here is RDU needs to make sure that he sets up a lethal next turn.
That's the key. If he can't set up a lethal next turn, throw it out of the water. It's much higher than that. Then Firebat is actually technically favored.
Reporting for duty.
There we go. That's the wise play. How much damage is that?
19. So he's got a lethal setup. Is that it?
Not it.
No!
Game 4.
He was so close. And now you go back. What if he had held on to those fireflies?
Would have been a different damage story though.
It would have been a different damage story. That's correct.
But that damage, that board presence, did all that really matter? I don't know. It's a butterfly effect. You make one different decision in Hearthstone, it